Hey fam,
It's Gantt.
and Jade, and welcome to this week's episode of the Good Black Podcast.
Welcome to The Scroll. Everyone's familiar with scrolling social media and news sites, right? Well, this segment is dedicated to what we're seeing on our feeds and our unique blackety black commentary about these internets.
Oh, hey fam. So we are literally sitting here scrolling through our IG pages so that we can figure out what we want to focus on as part of the scroll. And it's actually this is pretty indicative of what the world is now, which is one big old dumpster fire and so many different things going on. For those of y'all who don't know, I have 3 Instagram pages because apparently I need more things in my life to do. But I have one for my personal page. That's where all my close relatives and friends, well, let's not get it twisted, mostly close friends, because family doesn't really follow me, I don't think. But yeah, that's where most of my close friends can see the inner workings and all my angry rage and all my peace and joy and all that good stuff. And that is locked. But then I also, like you heard in the intro, or like you heard in the trailer, actually, I'm a doula and I have a business. So I have a business page. That's Jade underscore the doula. If you want to go follow to see what I'm up to in that world and to get some of these free educations out here on the internets. Um, and then I have my pole dance page, which is where I get to do my dance activities, my hoe activities. Uh,
Yeah,
and
not
that's
her.
hoe spelled the classy way. That's Heaux.
H-A-U-X.
Yes. But I have that third page. And so across all 3 of my sites, there's just so much conversation going on. Like there's a lot of laughter, but then there's also, of course, a lot of tears because of the shootings that happened in Atlanta earlier this week, and just everything in between. So, what are you finding? What are you seeing, Gant? What's your social
Yeah,
media looking like?
mine is a lot of that. It's a lot of reflection. Some of it is just, like, look at me, I'm cute. But a lot of it is reflection on, on what's been going on with the hate crime that happened here in Atlanta. And I live in Atlanta for people who don't know. So it's a little I wouldn't say the energy of the city has changed, but I think it's a little bit different being so close to it because you go by those places. Like I know, like I haven't been to any of those like places because they do like massages and and regular stuff. But also because of the people that I follow, like there's a lot of reflection and examination of what the way the media is reporting what happened. One thing in particular that I saw today was just some scrutiny on the way the media has chosen to report and chosen to specify the location of the places, because there's a negative stigma around Asian women and massage parlors. Just historically, and I don't know enough on that situation to speak about it in lots of detail, but I know it's a thing. And it continues to be a stereotype and some negative stigma around that, which again puts the focus on the victims and not the perpetrator of an extremely violent crime, which is what always happens in these situations. The media typically will give an easy way out, to this typically white male offender, and create a way for the public to sympathize with them over the people who are no longer here. Those women can no longer go home, to their families and love on them and do the things that they would traditionally do. But this man gets to be sympathized with. Um, and in the direct relation to that, the officer or the sheriff, whoever he was, like his response, again, in a sympathy, like Kevin on Stage said it best. This officer basically says, like, hey, he had a bad day, and that's what he did.
Right.
And Kevin on Stage is like, When I have a bad day, I go eat a bowl of ice cream.
Right. I have chips. I lay in bed. I eat chicken. I
Yes.
like these are the types of things that other folks do when they have a bad day. When a white supremacist has a bad day, people die.
Yeah. And I don't, and I, I
And
don't want to
it's
say I don't
like
understand.
the simplification of it is it blows my mind every time we see it. But also at this point, I don't know if I'm shocked, which is also really sad to have to say.
Absolutely. And at some point, it's also like, we're tired of saying the same thing over and over again, which is why the reaction to George Floyd last summer was so extreme. Well, I don't want to say extreme, why it
Yeah,
was so potent.
right,
Because it wasn't extreme, because
right,
this is years. This has been happening. We have been saying these
right.
things. We have been telling y'all this is an issue. And if somebody else has to, like stands in, in the face of marginalized people and tells us like, oh, well, it's not that. So it's everything. It's
It's
everything. It's just not
everything,
that.
right.
It's everything
Like
but that.
folks want to use every other word in the book just so that they don't have to say racism and white supremacy.
Right.
And like last summer, everyone magically discovered racism. And so now I have to talk to you about it as your one Black person in your life.
And what's crazy is that we were also directly coming off the heels
Yeah.
of Ahmaud Arbery and
Yes.
Breonna Taylor, and
Yeah.
then George Floyd happened. It's like, so it's not even like, oh well, it's been about 6 or 7 months since the last
Mhm.
thing happened. Like,
It's
no, like this
constant.
literally had just happened.
Yeah, it's constant. And so I one of the things I reposted since we're, still in this moment of scrolling through, one of the things I reposted earlier today, and so I saw the post from Rachel Ricketts, and that's at I am Rachel Ricketts on Instagram, but it's a screenshot of someone over on Twitter, and they are Sophia Lee, that's Soph FEI. And this person said the same roots of white supremacist hate that killed these 8 in Atlanta is the same hate that killed 9 Black churchgoers in Charleston and
Mhm.
23 Hispanics in an El Paso Walmart, El
Mhm.
Paso, excuse me, Walmart. And we're not safe until all of us are safe.
Right.
Like, and so the the uprisings, the rightful uprisings that happened last year, the rightful anger that folks are feeling, the rightful frustration that folks are feeling. And that's not just Black people. It's not just Black people. It's all people of color who identify as people of color that are really feeling it. And like this person in this post said, it's the same, it's the same thread. Like the common denominator is white supremacist terror.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like oftentimes what people do is miss the point. And I'm actually watching a reality show where something similar is like, like just the conversation um around prejudice, prejudice, racism, and and biased thoughts and actions and behaviors and ways of speech. Because people feel either intimidated, because white people feel particularly intimidated by like the very idea of even having to then to confront these things within yourself.
Mm.
People, you use it as an opportunity, or as you use that intimidation as a reason to not get started on doing the work. So one of the things that was important for me to also share is because I believe in meeting people where they are.
Mhm.
I believe in giving grace,
Mhm.
because also Black people, we do our own stuff.
Mhm.
We have our own words. We have our own,
Right.
we have our own things and our own ways of minimizing the
We
experience.
definitely have our own work to do. Yeah.
Right, absolutely, have our own work to do. So one of the posts that I shared today was from the Instagram page. It's Generations. It's ZENERATIONS. And the one that I shared, it's a long post. There are several slides to it, but the one that I shared is call out Asian racism when you see it. Start holding people accountable and unlearn anti-Asian ideals now, so xenophobic behavior and tendencies don't foster within the next generation. And I feel like that is literally the least you can do. Like, actually start learning about what, what anti-Asian racism is, what anti-Black racism is, what Latinx racism is. Like, what are these things that you incorporate in your daily language and in your daily ways of doing and being that continue to perpetuate oppression in some way, shape, or form? You can't just say like, oh, well, I just said that one thing that one time, like that doesn't make me a bad person. No, it doesn't make you a bad person, but it does make you ignorant. And it does, and it does impact your ability to have genuine relationships and and I would argue, to apply the appropriate care to people when they need it. If you don't know that that I wouldn't say small, but this microaggression that you are using and that you are holding against a particular group is harmful, and it contributes to the ability for further things to continue, because it doesn't start with a gun rampage at places where businesses are managed and owned by people of color. Mm-hmm. It starts with those little slights. It starts with those small things. So if we can start to unlearn the small ways in which we are harmful and small ways in which we perpetuate harm against marginalized communities, then we can actually start doing some work. And again, people of color are complicit in this because we are anti-Black across all communities. Even within Black communities, we are anti-Black. You can be anti-Asian as well. No, you may not have the power and the ability to perpetuate racism at the scale at which white people are able to, but we have to be cognizant of as well that there are things that we do to cause harm too, right. And you should be doing your best to undo that and to unlearn those things.
Yep. I was actually in a training earlier this week, and they said it perfectly. Like, when it's across people within groups of color, it's more like lateral violence. And I think that perfectly encapsulates what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like this is an important thing for us to come into here and talk about, because obviously this is the Good Black podcast, and, and we want things to be fun and, to be light, and we want to, speak from the Black experience. But I think part of speaking from the Black experience is speaking on the improvement of the Black experience and what ways we can do better. Mm-hmm. So I hope that, anyone who's listening, you can take something away from this. And our show is not specifically like, you don't have to be Black to listen. We hope that everybody listens, but we want you also to take something away from our show, Black or otherwise. And for the Black people listening, do better, because we're trying to do better.
Yeah. And when we say, I also don't want folks to walk away thinking that we are these two pious individuals and we don't have any work to do. Absolutely. Like, we're also calling ourselves into this conversation. And what I will say is that if you are Black and listening to this, you get extra points for being Black and being an audience member or being part of the family.
Yes.
Extra points for you. Extra
points from us high Sididdy folks.
I am not Sididdy.
I am. I am bougie. I am uppity.
Oh no.
I'm gonna say it. I'm uppity. I would like my extra guac, and don't ask. I don't eat guacamole, but I would like it, and don't tell me how much it costs. It's fine. I know. Speaking of, that is another thing that I have been seeing in the scroll.
Guacamole?
Not guacamole,
oh,
no.
Sorry.
But the indignation with which Black people want to spend their money.
Oh, but the stimmy.
If you will.
I love and hate the fact that is a word right now, and I'm seeing it right across my blackety Black timelines. Like, this
very Black
this is a cultural moment that we didn't necessarily ask for, but maybe we needed.
Yeah, because sometimes we need, first of all, if Black people don't do nothing else, we're gonna laugh. We are going to laugh. We're going to make it funny. We are going to.
It's my favorite coping mechanism.
I enjoy a laughter, a little chuckle with my misery. I like it.
So makes it go down smoother.
It's just Makes them go down a little bit smoother if I can laugh about it.
Jade's dark humor.
Oh gosh. So yes, yeah, Black people like talking about the stimulus and the things that they would do with their stimulus, the places to which they would pull up to. One of my favorites, I wouldn't say I'll quote it, but one of my favorites has to be when your check drops, when your stimmy drops, and you pull up to the Dollar Tree. Where the $2 stuff at?
Because you know what? I got it. That's right.
I got it.
You better ask for the $2 stuff.
Hello. And what I'm not going to have you doing is counting my pockets and what I can do with them. Go up to Five Guys. Where's the sixth guy? So that has been hilarious to watch on the scroll this week.
Another hilarious thing that is STEMI related. I don't know if you've seen this, but these fools on Instagram. It's a picture of Joe Biden sitting in a chair and then various people coming up and giving him lap dances.
I'm tired. I have seen that and I'm tired.
I appreciate that they want to send them their gratitudes for the STEMI.
But is that the way?
I mean, I'm sure he will see it. Someone in his camp will see it.
I doubt it. You think they're going to show Joe that?
They might not show Joe, but they'll see it. And then they will look at him and laugh.
That's...
Well, I hope they don't look at him and laugh. That's actually a little rude.
Considering the presidency of it all.
Yes. But yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. So
you know what else people are talking about? And you kind of roll us into our next segment. Is the Grammys.
The Grammys.
All of that excellence that came out of that.
Sure.
Yeah. Full transparency, I didn't watch the whole thing. By the time I got to the place that I eventually watched it at, we were on Meg and Cardi's performance, so I caught that, and then eventually watched those videos a few more times later, because that's what I came for. But yeah, from Meg and Cardi's piece onward, that's where I saw. That's what I watched, and I had a good time. Got to see. People give Beyonce her things.
And as they should. Beyonce deserves more of the things. We can't get on that right now. So as a close to the scroll, like it's so annoying to see all of the this conversation around Cardi B and Meg's performance, because we're all of these I guess to be fair, the FCC's response to it was basically like, we got about the same amount of calls as we get for every major thing. But white people, basically complaining about the vulgarity of the performance, which I was like, that was vulgar?
I mean, they kept it fairly cute. The flip over at the end, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Should I call the FCC? I don't know. I would never, but I was surprised.
Really?
Yeah, especially because isn't this?
It is the Grammys. I mean,
well, not only is it the Grammys, but because of who was showing it, just I don't know. They like to take the sex out of. Well, actually, let me not even say. I was gonna say they like to take a sex out of everything, but that's not true. If they have control over it, then typically they're fine. It seems like sometimes they have a problem if it's a Black or brown person and they are in charge of what you're seeing or what you're taking in, rather than being sexualized by the networks. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe there's something there.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's so annoying to to see the drama that people put on it. Like the flip, I was like,
I mean, I've seen it before, but it was not jarring in a bad way, but just like I said, it was shocking because of the platform that it was on.
Okay.
And I was like, good for them that, they're doing this and somebody's going to have something to say. I think that's usually where I have concern. I'm all for it, but now they're going to have to deal with somebody's mouth.
Right. That's always like the response is like, it's never, well, no, I wouldn't say never, but it's usually not your own outrage that you are worried about, but the outrage of people that, potentially have any possibility of doing something about it, which is super whack. Like, mind your business. Mind your business. Stay in your boring bedroom. If you want to do missionary, God bless, go ahead. But you let other people do what they're going, do what they're going to do. And at the end of the day, like, oh my gosh, it is not Cardi, Meg, Nicki, Beyonce,
Oh yeah.
Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Dua Lipa, The Baby, Lil Baby, Future. It is not any of those people's job to raise your children.
Yes, I'm
Raise your
glad you
own freaking
said
kids.
that. Yep, I'm so glad you said that. Yes.
You would hope that they're good role models for your children. Yes, absolutely. But you should be your children's role model. They should be in love with you. They should be obsessed with you. They should be wanting to do the things that you are doing. And why, like, it's important, like, as a parent, and I'm not a parent. I ain't got nobody kids, you know what I'm saying? But I think it's important, as somebody who had a parent growing up, it's important that
That feels shady.
no,
Because
but it's
that's
somebody who had a parent. Like, like, I felt a high level of respect for my parents. And so much so that I was, like, they were the people whose advice I wanted. I wanted to talk to, like, I wanted to kind of like see what they would think. I was concerned with what my parents thought. And you should have, like, be encouraged to have a relationship with your kids in which they care more about what you think than they are willing to, sacrifice, or I wouldn't say sacrifice, but if they're willing to take all of their cues from celebrities. It's not celebrities' job to raise your children. You should be the example that they want to follow. And you can only do so much, right? Because kids are going to go out and do and seek whatever, what the things that they want and that they're excited about. But you have the right to kind of like pull the reins on them and be like, hey, Cardi is great. And that's not appropriate for you at 14. It's not that it's bad, it's just not appropriate for you to emulate at 14. Now, when you get grown and get out my house, you do whatever you want to do. You get all the swings that Candy Birds make, but for now, at 14, and that's the conversation that you need to be having, not going on Twitter and trying to shame these women for being grown women.
I hear that, especially the part about going on all the social media platforms and shaming people. Like, absolutely do not do that. And I also would want to say, I too do not have anybody's children, to echo what Gantt's saying. So I think what I would want to end off on is also making sure that when we're having these conversations with our children, with the next generation, that we're also not shaming them either. And so we can have responsible and transparent conversations about, maybe the values that someone's household has, and also making sure that we're not shaming our own children in the process while we're talking about why we're not going to consume certain media, or maybe certain songs or things like that, because we feel like it's not developmentally appropriate. Like, one of the things that I have come to know and learn, because I'm a sex educator, like that's my main bread and butter, um, is around like looking at the conversations that we have with our children or with, the future generations, and what does it look like to talk to them or talk with them in a way where we are, I guess, working with them, and we're hearing their opinions, their thoughts, and we're not shaming them, for the adults that they will eventually grow to be.
That's true.
So especially when it comes to sex, like, this country, the society that is, in America, has a very weird relationship to sex. Very weird.
It is,
Um,
right?
and so, yeah, just wanting folks to be careful when they have conversations with their own children or with their own young people in their lives. So it's coming from a place of love, and not shame, because that shame goes inward for your young person. So,
Agreed.
mm,
So it sounds like that's it for the scroll.
So this next segment is what we call Family Feud. And this is a segment where we discuss a topic that's come up in our own walks into adulthood as it relates to family matters. See what we did there? If you have suggestions on relevant topics, revelations, pains, lessons, and growth, send us your thoughts and join the Family Feud by emailing thegoodblackpodcast@gmail.com. So let's get into it.
All right. So we had a conversation a couple months back, which kind of gave us the episode title for this episode. And that is this R&B or are you just black? Like,
That's a valid question.
Is it really R&B? Like, or are you just black? And that came out, like, that really came out of our conversation, like talking about The Weeknd and his reaction to, like, you know, to the Grammys and all these sorts of things, and even Justin Bieber's reaction to, like, you know, not being nominated in the R&B category.
That's right. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So it's like yes, and sure, and it's a sticky situation, but that kind of took us down the pipe to Bruno Mars. And his musical selections, which, you know, I like Bruno Mars, but it does raise an eyebrow.
I get it.
Like, it raises my hands and raises my body into the air is what it raises.
Like and so I mean, I know where we're going with this, and I can't say that I struggle, because I just listened to Leave the Door Open earlier today and got my entire life. Like he said, if you want to smoke, I got that haze. If you hungry, girl, I got fillets. Like, those are bars. Just, and so I'm like, oh, but I enjoy the song, but also the black influence is strong with this one.
Strong. Yeah.
And so I'm like, but what do I do? Is it, and like, I'm trying to figure this out within myself. Do I give him more of a pass because he is brown? And not just because he's brown, and because he does shout out what his influences are. Like, he makes it very clear, very well known. He didn't just come up with this. I think the part that does make me a little upset is that because he's brown, it's like white folks love him. It seems like it's more palatable coming from him. And that's the part that upsets me. So even though he is shouting us out, even though he's shouting the influences out, and like I said, making it very, very widely known, and you can see it, it drips off of him. I enjoy it. And like, I don't know.
Right. I mean, I feel like the issue is always going to be the reward that you get for doing this thing that culturally doesn't belong to you, because the reality is the Commodores don't have an album of the year Grammy. The, you know, like Earth, Wind and Fire don't have, you know, like a song of the year Grammy. You know, like, so the issue is not necessarily that this is the space that, you know, that you choose to occupy, and this is the lane that you know that you're inspired by and you create out of. That's not really the issue. It is the bigger issue at hand is really the world and the way that they reward people who are not black and doing black things. And so that's a difficult thing to kind of ask Bruno himself to answer for, which we are also ignoring Anderson .Paak, and I want to make sure that he gets his shine in the Silk Sonic universe of whatever's going on, because Leave the Door Open is a bop. We're not going to deny that. But yeah, like and so it's a weird place to be in, because what answer do you give? So, and speaking of the comments that he made recently on the Breakfast Club, can we say that? Doesn't we have to pay them for? That's okay. Okay, that's okay. We're not big enough for them to worry about us yet. So, yeah. So, like, comments that he made recently on the Breakfast Club when, you know, like when Charlemagne brought up, what do you say to people who, basically accuse you of being a cultural appropriator? Like, he's kind of like, well, I've been very clear about my influences, and like, I'm always shouting these people out. I'm always making sure that, like that the names and the influence is very expressly stated. And basically he's and if you can't hear that this music is made from love, then I don't know what to tell you, which to me is a cop-out thing to say, because what you could say is, I own what this looks like. I own how this feels to people. And it really does come from a genuine place for me. Now, am I going to stop doing this? Am I going to change like my entire style of music? No, because I really love it. I'm really connected to it. I really believe in it. This is truly what comes out of me, when I create. And I completely understand that is a valid perspective, because the reality is, at the end of the day, what really ticks me off about people when they're accused of cultural appropriation is they try to make themselves the victim. Number two, you completely ignore the perspectives of these people and the reality of the situation. Cancel culture is not real, so nothing's going to happen to you. There are going to be no real repercussions, because even though there are Black people who are calling Bruno Mars out for this, for his style of music and for his approach to music, there are so many more Black people that are absolutely going to listen to, and still going to listen to Finesse, and still going to go back and stream 24 Karat Magic and all of these things. And there can be a both and. Like, it can be like, I am incredibly inspired by this music. I'm not going to stop making it, but I acknowledge what is going on with this community. So here is what I do to kind of offset that, to ensure that, the music and me showing up in a space also brings other Black creators into this space, brings Black artists into this space, and gives them platform as well. Like, what do you do for the community? What do you give back to the community in order to really to kind of make up for it? Because you're using our resources, but what do we get back? Which is also sticky, because it's not all of us who have made this music, and do you see what I'm saying?
I think I'm caught on I guess I just need you to define, like, specifically in this case, what are we talking about resource wise, for me and the folks listening at home?
Well, for me, the resource is the inspiration.
Got it. Okay.
Like, it's the, like it is the work, the work, the blood, sweat, and tears that, the artist, the original artist who kind of like created this sound, like Earth, Wind, and Fires, like these, the Jade, the Gap Band, like all of these places, like where this inspiration and, kind of comes from. What's the give back to the culture? And I guess maybe, in the give back can be classified as like the revival of this music.
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting space to be in. I wonder, Bruno Mars, I'm talking directly to you because I know you're listening. I wonder if he would ever, like, what would it look like for him to put together a tour or something, or have not just sounding like the greats, but working with the greats? What does it look like for him to work with the legends? I also have no clue if he's already done this before. The other thing that's coming to mind for me is maybe he has gotten to this point where he's had to answer that question so much, or answer for himself so much, because this has been a topic of conversation, I feel like, since he first came on the scene, or at least, was public and singing more, that man might just be tired of answering that question. And that's why it came out like that. And I mean, it's unfortunate. I get it. And also, you just gonna have to answer the question, homie.
Yeah, because you can't get mad. You can't get mad at an oppressed group of people for being mad. Like, if I was to walk out here right now and, like, in every episode I did it with, like, with a Native American headdress on, like, people would be like, and I'm like, oh, I'm 1/16th, Chickasaw on my mama's side. Like, no.
That's yeah.
Because you have to, what I'm saying? Like, you would, even if that were the case, and I'm like, I want to honor my roots, like, you still have to own what it looks like and what the optics of this thing is, because and white supremacy really does force us to operate, not force us to, but it really does cause the culture to operate in a way that basically only acknowledges things that we can quantify and we can put our hands on.
Mm-hmm.
And your feelings are not something that we can do that with, so it must not be real. And that's just not the case. That's not the space in which we live anymore. Like, so you do need to be able to acknowledge, and the reality is, if you're going to continue to profit from something that people are telling you, like, and like, you're going to have to be comfortable answering that question if you're not going to change. Because what I always say is that, no, like, nobody's gonna run down on Bruno Mars and beat him up, you know what I'm saying? Like, or, like, take his chain, or, or whatever, over this music.
Mm-hmm.
So the least you could do is just acknowledge that and be like, hey, like, I get that. I don't think that that's an invalid critique at all. This is the place that I'm at with it. I really hope that people are still able to listen to the music and enjoy it. And if you're not, like, I completely understand. And, and I will continue to make that case. I'll continue to make that case for this music that I love. And I'm always going to continue to strive to be in a good place with the community as well, because I want it to be understood that this is this comes out of a space of appreciation, and not me trying to cherry pick, pieces.
I hear that. I hear that. Um, yeah, so I am one of those people that is, for the foreseeable future, going to enjoy some of the things that drop. Like I said, I really enjoy Leave the Door Open. The more I listen to it, I'm like, these cheeky men. Because at first the tune just caught me, but now
Yeah.
I'm listening to the lyrics and I'm like, oh, this is adorable.
Yeah.
Because it is absolutely a play on all of the songs that we grew up to. And I'm saying we grew up to them because our parents are older school. And
Right.
so on Saturdays or Sunday, well, most likely Saturday mornings, we're up
Yeah.
cleaning the house and they're playing the favorites. And that's the music that we came up in.
Yeah.
And so, we're very much a part of the crowd of folks that love and have some type of relationship with that music. I do appreciate, or I can appreciate, maybe not, I can appreciate what you mentioned about the revival aspect. And maybe this is leading to something different, or a revival of sorts. Because when I sit and look, and I actually have the list pulled up now, when I sit and look at the categories for the Grammys, particularly like the R&B stuff, one, some of these folks I have not heard of. I have not heard all these songs. And
Yeah.
that it is what it is. We've This is a different time and space that we're in, so I'm not listening to the radio as much. I'm very much in my own container when it comes to Spotify and all my streaming services, wherever I get my music. And so if stuff isn't popping up in there, or the few times that I do get into a car on the week, like during the week, then I'm not hearing it. um but yeah, so looking at the categories, we have, and I'm jumping all over the place, y'all will be okay. We have best R&B performance. We have best traditional R&B performance. For me, a part of this is, what is the difference? Um, we got best R&B song, best progressive R&B album. We'll talk about that in a second. Best R&B
Mm.
album. What's the difference? Best rap performance. Okay, cool. Best melodic rap performance. When did we add that? Best
Oof.
rap song, best rap album, and then you have all the other stuff. Like, what is melodic rap? Why? Like, apart, did they make this category so that Lil Nas will have to be in this category and he can't just be country? I don't understand. What is that? What I need descriptions on these. Progressive
Yeah.
R&B versus traditional. What's the difference?
Mm. I don't know, but I'm looking at this stuff too. Looking at the nominees, these peoples.
And melodic
Mm.
rap includes Anderson .Paak, DaBaby and Roddy Rich, Drake and Lil Durk, Roddy Rich again, and Travis Scott. Those are now classified as melodic rap.
I don't know. I do wonder sometimes, like, with like, did some of these categories come out of the lack of representation of other people, like, or like other forms of, you know what I'm
Are you
saying?
trying to say, is this how they're bringing nuance to the music that Black creatives create?
Yes, and not even, and not all the time specifically Black, but like I feel like the specification of like progressive, like the progressive R&B, like, you know, category to me is like, I mean, ain't it all just R&B? Like, I get it, you know, and like, you know, so I think Lettucey
Like,
won an award that also Chloe and Halle were nominated
yeah,
for.
and so that's best traditional R&B performance.
Right. So okay. So traditional
What's
R&B performance, but Chloe and Halle were also nominated for like progressive R&B album. So like, what's the
mhm.
like specification? Like, is that like, again, is that to honor the distinctions, like, and the nuances, like you said, you know, of the music of the category, or is that just kind of like, is that kind of like, sometimes we can't decide, so we're gonna, you know, split it up.
Right, and I think the labels or whoever, they get to decide what they submit for, but once again, what's the criteria that we're going with?
Right.
Like, what is traditional versus progressive? Is
I,
it about the lyrics? Is it about the sound?
Yeah, I think it might be the sound of it, because I mean, like, Lettucey has kind of like a what you would typically associate with,
R&B?
yeah, what you would typically associate with R&B. And I
Okay,
think the
so
song,
traditional R&B.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got
So
it.
I'm trying to find that category because I don't remember exactly what song.
It's anything for you.
Okay, I'm
Hmm.
trying to remember. I'm trying to think of the Chloe and Halle song that was nominated.
Oh, wonder what she thinks of me.
That is true. Is that traditional
I mean, in the realm of
R&B?
as we lay, like that is a
Oh.
that's a successor of that song in my mind. As we
Yeah.
lay, we
Okay.
forgot
I mean,
about
like,
tomorrow as we lay. I wonder what she thinks of me
yeah.
when you go
I
home
mean,
and she smells your cologne under my perfume or whatever. Like
yeah.
that's that's the granddaughter of As We Lay.
Basically, wow. Love it. Love the way you described
Traditional R&B.
that. Yes, I mean, so it must be the sound, because I feel like anything for you is definitely like, that's definitely like, it's kind of like adult contemporary,
Mhm.
which in such a
What
case
is adult contemporary?
is basically like modern grown folks music. Like, it's, yes, it's not like the, you know, like the hole in the wall music that, you know, that my
My
stepdaddy play
father
on
loves
Saturday.
that. Oh.
Yeah, like, yeah, it is good. It's good ballad and all that stuff. So that, but that wouldn't be considered like adult contemporary. It's grown people's music, but it's still like, it's still fresh and well done enough for like anybody to listen to it.
Those are the folks that like the artisanal beverages.
I'm tired of you. But
Mm.
there's some stuff in here that, like, there's a lot of Black winners I can see. Like Brittany Howard won for a lot of stuff with, for, let me scroll back up. Let me scroll back up. Yeah, Brittany Howard won for best rock song, which is like super dope.
Interesting. Good stuff. So we are seeing more folks break out of like the R&B category that they try to put us in.
Absolutely. Kate Tronado won like two
Best
for,
dance or electronic album.
yeah.
See that? And best dance recording.
Yeah, so like two, you know, like two brand, you know, two Grammys, which, you know, shout out to
Hmm.
them. So yeah, so like, I mean, this is good. Like, we're seeing a, you know, a lot more things. Now, what I don't like
Hmm.
is that it feels like they keep giving Beyonce like
You better watch what you
the
about to say.
no, listen,
Oh,
hear me out. It
it's
feels
like I
like
will
they,
end this podcast right now.
I cannot. So
You sh-
I'm gonna be fair, you
you
know what I'm
shut your
saying?
white mouth.
I'm tired. I'm tired. Going to sleep, actually. That's how tired I am. So no, but I feel like they always like, they give Beyonce like the runner-up
Mm,
trophy all the time. Like, so she'll win. So she won on Sunday for best R&B performance for Black
mm-hmm,
Parade, but Black Parade was also in the running for record of the year or
mm-hmm.
song of the year.
Um,
And I think Everything I Wanted by Billie Eilish won,
yes.
which have not heard that song for more than 12 seconds.
So What did you think about Billy's acceptance speech?
Oh, I didn't hear it.
Okay. Um, so how do I want to go about this?
Okay.
I'm going to give my interpretation of it.
Okay.
So Billy goes up to the mic with Phineas
Mhm.
um, in her urban streetwear, which, okay, fine. And
That's another show.
that's another show.
Another show.
Although I like Billie Eilish. But yeah, she goes out with Phineas and is holding the award, and it is very clear that she is shocked. And it's the camera keeps going back to Meg. The camera keeps going back to Meg. And
Mm.
so one of the first sentence out of Billy's mouth is that she started to write an acceptance speech that said Megan deserved the award over her, but then she didn't think she would win, so she didn't write it. And then she just keeps going. I'm like, girl, you could have left that at home with that
Oh
outfit.
yeah, just leave it out.
You did not have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, oh Meg, I was gonna write something that said you deserve this, but never mind. Like, what? You wait, you could have left that. You could have left that at home. Nobody asked you for that.
Yeah.
Like this feels very much like Macklemore when he did that to if you could only see Gant's face. I just like, what is this world coming to? That was not a needed moment. I'm sure we will see that pop up in these internet streets again at some point in time as somebody's meme or GIF or GIF, however you'd like to pronounce that word.
Because what's the last Macklemore song you heard?
I
But
don't.
go off. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what it gave me. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, she
So I
did
mean,
not have to say
just
that.
yeah, like just leave that off. Like don't
And I know she wasn't
like
trying.
don't do that.
I don't think she was trying to be shady, but that's how it came off to
Yeah.
me.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, like I wouldn't it would have been fine if you had just gone ahead and be like, well, I'm gonna make it up on the spot. Cause Megan, girl, that song, you know what I'm saying? Like it would have been, very different. But again, I just think it is I just think it is super whack of the Grammys to always like it's almost like they're hanging this thing out in front of her, because it's not that these songs are better or more popular or more well produced or more well engineered than anything that that Beyonce is putting up, because one, not possible. And like, and to see that Savage is in this count, as well as like, I mean, like these other songs are this is a pretty stacked category. Like Rockstar was a huge hit. Yeah, like so I'm having a hard time. Like I've heard some of everything I wanted, and I don't even, this is not even a Billie Eilish thing. So I'm gonna take her out of this. What is the consideration that the Recording Academy is doing to actually make sure like that y'all are, like that y'all are genuinely like being fair, and that you giving this thing a real shot and not just being biased? Because I'm not seeing it. And it's interesting to me that Beyonce wins in these other categories, but when it comes to these big ones, no, you're not gonna get an album of the year, song of the year on us. That's enough.
So weird.
That's
That
the
so
weirdest thing. I don't want to go too much into this, because I will really get fired up about it. But you are not telling me that 25 was better than Lemonade. You're not telling me that. You can crawl back under whatever rock that you came from to say that foolishness to me. You're not ever going to convince me of that. That's just not the case. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Lemonade deserved an album of the year trophy. Yeah. Everybody thinks so. Even the person who won the award.
Yeah, and maybe that's why when people go up to accept these specific things, when they're, I don't know, the pure shock on folks' faces sometimes when they go up to accept these awards. And I will say like Billie Eilish was the same way. She like it was genuine shock
Mhm.
registering on her face. And so same thing with Adele. Um, and I know these are different years. Y'all will still follow me. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I think that's why people are genuinely shocked when they're winning over her and with things like this. And like Lemonade was my album. That was my album. She wrote that for me. And I know this because I connected with almost every song on that album. I connected with almost all the visuals. There was some stuff that I had to read on Wikipedia about. That's fine. We're all a work in progress. And you know, the more you know, shooting Rainbow Star. But Lemonade was written for me. And so for the folks who are listening who do not know, or if you did not listen to the trailer for whatever reason, go back and take a listen to it right now. But I am a person who has been married and divorced. And so when Lemonade came out, and that was, I want to say, what was that? What year was that? 2015, 2016,
16.
16. Okay. So my divorce papers, like the divorce was finalized towards the end of 2015, but still coming off all of those emotions and just everything that went into the demise of that relationship. And so to see that and to hear that play out, and she just, it's it's like she followed me around, wrote
Mm.
my experience, did not pay me, but then sold it to HBO, and it was just amazing. It was so good. And I remember feeling so seen, and I watched it over and over again, not because I wanted to like pick at the scabs or the wounds or anything, but just because it
Mm.
was a really beautifully done project. From cover to cover, from the rooter to the tutor, it was wonderful.
Mm.
And like I said, I felt so seen. I felt like the swirl of emotions that came with that period of my life were put on display, or at least a better way to say this, I finally had the language or the sound for
Mhm.
what I had been feeling.
Mm.
Um, and so it was a very nice gift that Beyonce gave to me when she finally released Lemonade, um, and let everyone in on my business. Uh,
Uh-uh.
but yeah, like it was such a good album.
I'm with it. I mean, like, I don't have that, I don't have that testimony, but I just think it was a great, I mean, really was a great album. And like, I mean, like, well put together, the thought, like, it is
Layers, it's
such
just
a journey.
layers. Yes, very rich.
Yeah.
I
So,
enjoy when things can make me think, and like they bring up sometimes very visceral, very body based
mm,
reactions.
yeah.
So.
So, yeah. In short, you're not telling me that, that it was better, and that's fine. Beyonce deserves. Beyonce has an album of the year Grammy in the minds of the people, and that's all you need to know. So we have wandered. We have wandered. But so to Bruno, to Justin Bieber, sir, please simmer down. You can't have everything. And so, and I say that to say, like, Justin apparently was upset about, I'm saying Justin like I know him. He was upset about not being nominated like any of the R&B categories, because he had put a lot of care into, to making sure that, he got the R&B sound right. And, like, and it was like an R&B, like, feel, like the soul was there, and it was that and the third.
I th-
Um,
so I have yet to listen to that album. I probably won't because I don't do Justin Bieber like that. I
mhm.
do enjoy Yummy, but anyway, are those? Did you see his tiny desk from home? He dropped it
I
last night. I watched it
I
today.
I
Uh,
saw it. I
if
did not
those are the
watch it.
same songs that are
Well,
on that album,
well.
um, I did not enjoy the Tiny Desk.
Oh,
I did
well,
not.
that's unfortunate.
I mean, and I couldn't get into it. And I am a sucker for some good live music. I just could not. It wasn't connecting all the way around for me.
So, so maybe he's lucky to have gotten a nomination at all.
Well, no, because who am I? Who am
Yeah.
I?
You
um,
is somebody, friend.
I
You
is
is
somebody.
smart. You is
I is
kind.
kind.
You is
Yes,
important.
yes, I is. Um, I'm from my perspective, I'm like, this doesn't sound like R&B necessarily, but maybe this would be maybe he wanted like a progressive R&B or a melodic rap. I have no clue since we have so many categories now.
Well, hey, I don't know what
I'm
the
happy about the categories. That's not what I'm complaining about, but I would not have classified what I heard today as R&B.
it was. It was something.
It was something.
It was something. So I
Mm.
haven't a clue. I don't know. I don't know what the young man was talking about. But it's like those pieces are important to distinguish. I think it's like I think it's we're seeing a change, not a change, but an expansion in the
Mm-hmm.
ability of I would say black people, black artists to do more
Good
than
word.
just R&B.
Just
I wouldn't
R&B.
say
Yeah.
just R&B, but to do more than R&B and to be seen doing
Yes.
more than
Seen and
R&B.
recognized.
Right,
Um,
right, right, right. In those spaces. You know who that makes me think about, and she's not like a commonly known person, but I
Tracy
remember
Chapman.
no.
Oh.
Who does let me not
Uh-oh.
like we'll get into that. But okay, so back in the early days of YouTube, there was a girl who did like acoustic songs, and a black girl. She used to do all sorts of things, and like so like it was like people would be like, oh, like you sing so well, I bet you could sing the alphabet. She literally had a video where she sang not the alphabet but the dictionary, sang the words like in the dictionary as long as she could to the tune of Fergie's Glamorous. Her name was Priscilla Renee, and
Heard that
she
name.
eventually got signed.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she eventually got signed at the time. Like, so this was like 2008, 2009. Eventually got signed, and she ended up doing an album. I can't remember the label that she was on, but eventually ended up doing an album. And she's kind of like, well, the music that I wanted to make was kind of like, very like folksy and like guitars and
Mm-hmm.
and the label wanted me to make something, they wanted me to make R&B. And I was like, I love R&B, valid, can do it, and that's not really what I want to do. So she found this place kind of like, in the middle, in the middle, kind of like more so pop music, and it was good. Like, the songs were good. Like, you could, I think the album is still available.
Mm-hmm.
The songs were good, but there were no black girls who weren't either extremely like nerdy, not I wouldn't say nerdy, but extremely like, have a very niche like image,
Mm.
and were making like pop, like real straight like pop music, not like pop R&B, what I'm saying? Like, it's not like the Ariana Grande, kind of feel, not that, like really making very pop centric music. And so like she kind of like, had like a song that was kind of like kind of sort of something, and then that was it. And like, it had a whole album, and then that was it. So like what that makes me think of is like, like there at the time, and maybe that, I would hope that it's changing now, but the ability for black people to be more than just like this one thing. Like, her music wasn't R&B, and that should have been fine. That
Mm-hmm.
should have been fine for audiences to be like, yo, like she's making pop music, and like, and this works for us, because if it was Bella Thorne making it, it would have worked. Don't. That's just the first name that came to
That's
mind.
another episode.
Another episode. Yeah, so like, we have to do that. And also even in our own communities too, like I think that's something that we really do have to do a better job at seeing the gift that our young people naturally have, and nurturing that, as opposed to telling them that it has to be this other thing, it has to be something else.
I'm here for it. That's also another episode.
Another episode. But yeah, I mean, like, so, let them do that. And I think the more in our spaces we allow Black people and Black women specifically to just be who they are going to be, I think, like we can bring about some change that allows us to be more whole, and more ourselves.
Whatever happened to Fifi Dobson?
Where is Fifi?
That's what that made me think of. Yes.
Yes, you are so right. That's true.
We used to love her music. That's true.
I mean, I don't know what her story is, so she may have.
I was just thinking of her, like when we're thinking of the alternative girls, or quote unquote alternative, because all of this music is ours. Wherever we Black are, that is our Black music.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
I'm here for it.
She still performs and she still makes music.
Well, blessed. Okay.
Yeah, she's not super old. She's 36.
Okay, so that's 3 years older than me. So no, she's not super old.
Yeah, like what I'm saying, it's 4 years older than me. She's not old. I still feel like I'm 25 in my mind.
My knees don't.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Zingers on this show.
You know what? Valid question. Google, is Fifi Dobson Black? English, Dutch, and Aboriginal and Irish ancestry. Jamaican. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
This segment is Love Letters. If love is accountability, here's where we show our love by discussing matters that we need to address and grow from, because what doesn't get addressed gets amplified. All right. So into love letters. My love letter this week is, again, as always, is to our community, on the topic of anti-Asian racism. I think it's important for us to really make sure that we are doing the work of examining ourselves and seeing ways in which we can do better. It's not always that you're a bad person when you exhibit signs or when you do things that are anti-Asian. Doesn't necessarily make you a bad person, but it does make you ignorant, and you need to learn something from it. So my love letter this week is to the Black community. Let us learn to do better by the other folks who are in our spaces, the other people who share space with us, and be the allies that we wish we had.
I feel that. So my love letter is actually going to be to parents, caregivers, and guardians of young folks. And so specifically thinking about the piece of conversation where we talked about music and sound and our young folks wanting to explore and do different things, and not necessarily be confined by like the traditional boxes that we might have placed things in. This letter going out to parents, caregivers, and guardians of young folks, it really is a call to really, if you are already doing this, then continue doing this. If you're not doing this, then really examine ways in which you could do this. But it's really continuing to cultivate and support or create avenues, no matter how small they are, so that your young person, your young loved one can continue exploring who they are and how they want to express themselves. And so even though we were specifically talking about, the Grammys and song and music, but those things or those forms of expression might actually extend outward. So it's not just in this one thing that I'm going to allow or, really create space for my young person to be different or, plant their Black flag wherever they would like to, when it comes to music. But it really is in the different aspects of their life. How can we create safe spaces for them to know that it's okay to fail, to know that it's okay to explore, and that we're still here for them. And we're not going to call them weird or sensitive or anything else like that, just because they're not, quote unquote, fitting into this traditional box that we have set up just because of how we see the world. So that's what my love letter would be for this episode.
Love it. Love it. So important for us to have that conversation too.
Hey fam, we're coming into the final segment of our show, which is called My Favorite Cousin. So we all have a favorite cousin. Now don't lie and say you don't, because we know you do. Every episode, we'll each pick something or someone to give flowers to because they made us think, they made us happy, they made us act, or simply because they're blackety black excellence. So I'm really excited about this one. And so I'm going to go first. So my favorite cousin for this week is Meg Thee Stallion's knees.
Okay.
They did a great job at the Grammys. They're so strong. And I just, I want to shout out Meg Thee Stallion's knees. I think they are A1. They are the knees of my past. And so to see them on stage doing the damn thing for all the world to see, I'm just so proud of, what my knees once were, and just a nice reminder of my youth. Shout out to the knees.
Okay. I mean, I don't think I've ever had those kind of knees. So, hey, I don't think I've ever needed to use them in the way that Meg does. But,
so proud of the knees.
I do on occasion have to squat down and get things, and in which case that would be nice to have such knees. Okay, so my favorite cousin for this week is Jenny's ice cream.
Shut your mouth! I just had some.
I just bought 2 pints last night, and
Which ones did you get?
I got salty caramel and almond butter brittle.
Ooh. Nice.
Oh gosh, I may have missaid that. I may have misspoken about that flavor, but I've never had a better scoop of ice cream. Just gonna go ahead and say it. Have not had a better scoop since I tried theirs, and you're not gonna convince me otherwise. Jenny's has the best ice cream in this here world. You can fight your mama about that, not
me. So luckily and so fortunately for me, you are the second person to say that phrase in my presence today. Fight your mama,
really?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
yes. Fight your mama, not me. Yes, that's appropriate.
Yeah, that's what you can do. So that is it for the favorite cousins this week. Hopefully we have more in our next episode. Yeah, thank y'all for listening to us talk about things that we love and we like to see more of.
Yep, and so we're gonna let y'all go.
But as in tradition of Black people, we're gonna have to say that 3 more times before we actually let you leave. So, we are kidding. We cannot say it 3 more times.
Right. I'm about to head out. Let me let y'all go. I ain't really want nothing. Let me go.
I ain't even want nothing. I was just trying to see what was going on. Hey fam, want to join in on the conversation? Have a topic suggestion? Send us your thoughts at thegoodblackpodcast@gmail.com. And that's TheGoodBlackPodcast@gmail.com.
To support us, make sure you like, subscribe, rate, leave us voice messages on Anchor, share. Just do all the things across your favorite platforms.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Good Black Podcast.
Bye, y'all.
Peace.